Record. All right, welcome to Precalculus lesson 4-2. There we go, zoom in. We're going fast and furious today because it is Friday. Today's date is Friday, January 22nd, 2021. Our objective today is to, Sam. There it is. All right, so if you do cosine of theta, that will give you the, is that the x or the y? Everyone make, I don't actually know the sign language for x or y. Do x or make like a y with your fingers. Is that x or y? Cosine gives you, Leo has it. It's a 50-50 shot, just guess. It's x. Good. And then sine will give you the other one. Sine will give you the y coordinate, which is very important to know on a unit circle. So you guys have already been remembering where is pi over 3. Now I'm going to ask you, where's cosine of pi over 3? That requires you to memorize two additional things. It requires you to memorize that 30, 60, 90, and 45, 45, 90 triangle, which you've already seen before. This is a review. But not only remember that, but remember, okay, cosine or sine of that, is that x or y of the triangle? So it's two more things on top of that. So I want to talk about where the coordinates come from on a unit circle. This is a unit circle, unit meaning 1 unit. This radius is always 1 and 1. The radius is always 1 on a unit circle. If I talk about a unit square, that would be a 1 by 1 square. All right, well, on a 45, 45, 90 triangle, and again, I know it's not super big. I hope that I can make that into a large poster one day. In the top left up there, I have the general dimensions and how to move around and manipulate the dimensions on both of those special right triangles. With a 45, 45, 90, hopefully you remember that that's going to be x and x. These two lengths are always the same length. You can even put a tick mark here and a tick mark here saying those two are always the same length. The thing that's different, though, is that this hypotenuse, I need to multiply by square root of 2 to get x times square root of 2 to get our hypotenuse. All right. On a 30, 60, 90, if we start at the short leg, and I'll call that short leg x. If I want to go from x to the long length, hopefully you remember this also from unit 1, I multiply by square root of 3 to get x square root of 3. If I wanted to go to the longest leg or longest hypotenuse, sorry, that's going to be 2x. I'm just going to multiply by 2. So again, here are your operations. I'm doing everything in one picture. I'm doing those two posters all in one picture. In order to get from x to x times square root of 2, I literally multiply by square root of 2. So that's my little dot times square root of 2. To go backwards, I do the inverse operation. Instead of multiplying by square root of 2, I divide by square root of 2. That's how to get from the hypotenuse to that leg. I divide by square root of 2. I know I'm going fast. This is a good time to take a breath. Are there any questions? Coming up for air. All right. And then we hold our breath and keep going. All right. So to get from x to x root 3, I need to multiply by square root of 3. And this is important for me to color code this now. In order to go backwards, instead of multiply, I divide by square root of 3. Same thing over here. In order to get from x to 2x, I multiply by 2. And then the reverse of that, if I want to go from 2x to x, the inverse operation would be divide by 2. Notice that I'm never going over this really sharp angle of 30 degrees. There's a way to do that, but it's essentially just going from here to here to here. You want to see it? It looks like this. To get from here to here, I divide by square root of 3 and multiply by 2, which is saying this and then this. That's why I don't teach going over the 30-degree angle, because it's just going the long way. So that's all you have to memorize. Okay, so I haven't even answered my question. My question was, where do these numbers come from for the x and y coordinate of this point for the 45, 45, 90 triangle and this x and y coordinate for the 30, 60, 90 triangle? Those have specific coordinates that everyone here will have to memorize. And I mean, you can see them down here. These are the coordinates that you'll have to memorize. But where do they come from? They come from this operation that I just talked about up here. If I have the hypotenuse 1 and I want to get to the leg, if I want to get to the leg, I have to divide by square root of 2. I have to do some scratch work over here. If I have 1 and I divide that by square root of 2, well, that's a great answer, but you'll notice, hey, Mr. Sindel, that's not square root of 2 over 2. That's because typically in mathematics, we don't leave a radical, this square root of 2, in the denominator. To get rid of that, we multiply by the square root of 2 over the square root of 2, and that gives us, okay, 1 times square root of 2, that's square root of 2 for the numerator. Square root of 2 times square root of 2 is the square root of 4. Oh, and I know the square root of 4, that's 2. So this is really square root of 2 over square root of 2 over normal 2. That's where the x and y coordinate comes from. It comes from doing this, which means this dimension over here is negative root 2 over 2. Why is it negative? It's going to the left. If you ever go left or down, those are negative. Right and up is positive. This is going up from the x-axis, which means it's going to be a positive amount, and it's the same length as the other leg of the 45, 45, 90 triangle. It's also going to be, you'll write it down, square root of 2 over 2. Square root of 2 over 2. All right, what about over here? If we start with the hypotenuse, we're starting with this 2x. It's a little bit more tricky. If I start with 2x and I want to get to this leg, the operation up here in green says divide by 2, which happens to be really easy. 1 divided by 2 is 1 over 2, or a half. So over here, you can either say 0.5 or you can say a half. I'm just going to go ahead and say that that's 0.5. Maybe you like fractions. Everything else is in a fraction. Let's do 1/2 too. Okay, how do I get from this short leg of the 30, 60, 90 to this long leg? It's this orange step. I multiply by square root of 3. I multiply this 1/2 by square root of 3, and that's going to be the square root of 3 over 2. Square root of 3 over 2. So if there's one thing that you have to memorize, oh, there's 2 things you have to memorize today. One of the things is memorize the dimensions of each of these triangles. Here they are. The dimension of a 45, 45, 90 on a unit circle is square root of 2 over 2, square root of 2 over 2. You don't have to memorize the hypotenuse. Ignore it. Just memorize these 2 numbers. Be careful if they're going left or down because then they're negative, but just memorize these numbers. Square root of 2 over 2 goes with a 45, 45, 90 triangle. What do you memorize for 30, 60, 90? Again, ignore the 1. You don't have to memorize that. That's too easy. Memorize the long part is square root of 3 over 2. Did I write a negative there? That's not right. The short part is 1/2. Oh, that's not a negative. It's just a fraction. I just saw it. Short is 1/2. Long is square root of 3 over 2. And if it's the same, it's square root of 2 over 2. Those are the first task that I'm asking you to memorize. The second task is asking you to do cosine or sine of that angle. Again, I have this neat chart that summarizes everything that you have to memorize by this end of the lesson. You need to memorize all of these points. They all come from 30, 60, 90 triangles or 45, 45, 90 triangles. Or even easier, no triangle. The coordinate of that point is 0, 1. The coordinate of that point is 1, 0, because it's one distance away from the center. Moving on to the second part of today's lesson. Cosine of 45 degrees. Cosine. Okay, you guys are either going to put, is that x or is that, I need a sign language y symbol really quick. Mini aside, sign language for y, I can't spell. Okay, so y, we know that one. And then sign language for x, might as well learn it. It looks like a pirate, arr. Sign language for x, do they have it? There it is. Everyone make sign language x, go. Everyone make sign language y. Sign language x. Sign language y. All right, now we know them. All right, cosine. Cosine, is that x or is it y? Sign language. Cosine is x. So you're looking at the x coordinate of 45 degrees. Everyone point to 45 degrees. You should do this in under a second. Now it's boom, you know it's right there, 45 degrees. Now the other question is, what is the x coordinate of a 45, 45, 90 triangle? So every single time, this is what I see in my head and what I want you to see in your head as well. First, you think, okay, 45 degrees is boom, it's right there. The x distance is this distance right here of this triangle. And you remember that a 45, 45, 90 has dimensions square root of 2 over 2, square root of 2 over 2. So this distance must be square root of 2 over 2. That is the right answer. This is square root of 2 over 2. It takes longer to write, which is why I don't have to have you memorize this in 1.5 seconds. Each of these problems should take you 2 seconds. Because it takes slightly longer to write. Let's try another one. Sine of 30 degrees. Again, think of where's 30 degrees. Point to it. Go. Point. It should be immediate. Boom. It's barely above the x-axis. Okay? So 30 degrees. Okay, sine. Is that asking for the x or is it asking for the y? Everyone's doing y. Good. So the y coordinate, is that the short or the small? You can do short or is it, sorry, short or small. Is it the short leg or is it the long leg? If you're thinking of 30 degrees, is the y coordinate the short or is it the long? Think of this. I know it's hard. You're visualizing this. You're getting your head wrapped around it. It's a short leg. Why? Because let me draw a picture. This is what we should all be seeing in our heads. We have our axis. We know that, boom, it comes out to 30 degrees. I'm asking for the y coordinate. The y coordinate is this green length right here. That's shorter than this long leg over here. I'm asking for sine, this one. That's the shorter one. And we all remember short means a half. Long means square root of 3 over 2. The answer for this one is positive 1/2. Let's do one more, and then I'll release you to do this drill and kill. Cosine of, no, let's do something harder. Cosine of 135. I'm skipping some because I want to show you a negative value. Cosine of 135. Everyone, point to 135. Boom, comes 45-degree angle, but it's on the left. All right, cosine, is that x or is it y? X or y? Cosine is the x coordinate. It doesn't matter for 45, 45, 90, but you need to remember cosine is the x coordinate. So again, what do we see in our heads? We see this. We see a graph. We see 135 degrees. Let's keep making that black. 135 degrees is right there. We're looking at the x coordinate. We're looking at this orange dimension right here. What is that? For a 360, 90, you'll do short or long. It's a 45, 45, 90. It's the same thing over and over again. And it is, you guys will all shout out right now. Square root of, okay, we'll get better with this. It is the square root of 2 over 2, but the problem is it goes left. This is left square root of 2 over 2. So the answer is not square root of 2 over 2. The answer for cosine of 135 is negative square root of 2 over 2. You're going to do these over and over and over again. Try to do them in your head because you will be responsible for doing them in your head on our speed sheet on Monday. Yes. For this. Again, the speed sheet is not 1.5 seconds per question. It's 2 seconds per question. This is the ultimate level. After this, there's no more speed sheets for this class. This is our last speed sheet. This is what your speed sheet is going to look like on Monday.
I thought it was about just trying, not being fast.
I know. Deeper math is going like slow. This is not deep math. This is something that should be your multiplication table at your high school level. Cosine of 0. Cosine is x. So x coordinate of going straight out to the right. This x distance is 1. All right. You're going for this right now.